The battle for business class passengers in India is heating up. Air India is making a serious comeback with its brand new A350 business suites. On the other side, low-cost giant IndiGo has launched its first ever premium cabin, IndiGo Stretch, and both products couldn't be more different. Everyone knows Air India is now a serious contender with its private lie-flat seats and a closing door, but can IndiGo's much cheaper recliner business class truly compare? Today, I'm flying both on long-haul international routes to put India's most expensive business class against its most affordable to find out why each airline took such a different approach.
I'm here in New Delhi and I'm outside Indira Gandhi International Airport. My first flight today is with IndiGo and their international flights operate out of Terminal 3. Let's get inside. It's my first time ever flying with IndiGo, so I'm excited to see what their product is like. They've branded their business class as IndiGo Stretch, and I'm flying all the way to Singapore today, so I've got a nice long flight to get familiar with the product. Let's go check in.
The check-in queues for IndiGo were absolutely massive today, but thankfully having a stretch ticket means I can use the business class check-in counter, which had a much shorter queue. There were a couple people in front, but it only took about 5 minutes.
I just got my boarding pass. I've just been told I can use the fast track security, but I just got some bad news, so I'll tell you once I get through passport control.
Despite how crowded it was at check-in, it was fairly quiet once I got airside. Terminal 3 opened in 2010, and it has what you'd expect from a modern terminal, like plenty of fashion shopping and a range of fast food options.
Alright, so about the bad news. I could have sworn when I booked this ticket I read that IndiGo Stretch provides lounge access, but apparently it doesn't. Bit of a negative to be honest, but I have just seen the queue over there to get in and it's massive, so maybe not the worst thing. I will have access to this lounge when I fly Air India next, so stick around to the second half of the video to see that. But I think for right now, I'm just gonna head to the gate and do a bit of plane spotting. And I've just realized one thing. No lounge means no champagne, means another X on the scoreboard. I'm at the gate, but before we get on board, let me give you a brief history of IndiGo's rise.
Founded in 2006, IndiGo quickly rose to become India's largest airline by market share, revolutionizing domestic travel with its low-cost model. Its fleet is made up of almost 400 aircraft, mainly A320 family aircraft. Recently, they launched their first business class product, IndiGo Stretch, as they prepare to expand further internationally. Back in New Delhi, I'm flying on this brand new A321neo today, and thanks to my stretch ticket, I can make use of priority boarding to be one of the first to get on board. And here it is, the shiny new IndiGo Stretch seat. The cabin is only 3 rows in a 2-2 layout, and I'm sitting in seat 2A today. Here's a quick glimpse at the economy cabin in a standard 3-3 configuration.
Right, now that I'm on board and actually sitting in the seat, I think it's fair to say this is closer to a premium economy style seat. I think calling it business is a bit of a stretch. But for a day flight where I'm not planning on sleeping, this should hopefully do the trick, and it's definitely going to be more comfortable and spacious than sitting back in economy.
So let's have a look around the seat features. Interestingly, there's no IFE screen, but you can pop this panel down to rest your phone or tablet, which is where I'd be watching my content anyway. There's a small side table shared with the seat next to you, where the crew placed a complimentary water bottle, which was pretty much the extent of the pre-departure service. The larger table can be pulled out from the seat arm and is completely sturdy because of the way it makes contact with the center table. It's really nice not having a flimsy tray table. Each passenger has an international power socket and 60-watt USB-C charging, which is great to see. Storage-wise, stretch passengers have dedicated overhead compartments, a small side pocket by your seat, and another seat pocket in front. And how about the comfort? There's a massive amount of legroom. Seat pitch is 38 inches or 96 centimeters, letting you stretch out comfortably, although the seat leg in front is annoyingly in the way. The 6-way adjustable headrest can easily be moved to your liking, and the seat reclines back a decent 5 inches. But enough about the seat. Looks like boarding is complete.
So let's get in the sky and see what the service is like.
First order of business, the meal service, or meal box, should I say? Let's tuck in.
There's no menu or any options. You just get a box with a vegetarian wrap, an almond cake, and a metal case filled with nuts. I'm not sure why that's the spot they chose to invest into. It felt a bit overkill, but it's a nice touch. And the wrap and cake both tasted good. But since there's only a vegetarian option, if you do want meat, you'll have to pre-order and pay extra like I did. So I paid 500 rupees for this chicken sandwich. And I know we're on a plane and it usually costs more, but it feels a bit cheeky to charge customers extras when they're already flying in business class. It would be nice to have an option at least, so you could swap the vegetarian for non-vegetarian. What is very nice though, is it seems that drinks are included and unlimited. So I've already had a couple bottles of water, I've had a can of white wine, and now I'm onto a beer. So cheers. Pretty standard plane toilet. There's one toilet at the front of the cabin for the 12 stretch passengers, but since there's no divider separating the business and economy cabin, you've got loads of passengers from economy coming through, so there's a lot of foot traffic through the business cabin, and the toilet's occupied quite a lot of the time.
And what this resulted in on my flight was constant groups of people hanging around in the business cabin and even sitting down waiting. And while this does take a bit away from the premium experience, this definitely isn't the end of the world. But what was a problem was the mess this ended up causing. Look at the toilet here at the start of the flight, and now at the end of the flight. It's in a complete state with bins overflowing and random rags on the floor. I don't even know where this came from. Back at my seat, there's no onboard Wi-Fi, so I cracked another can of wine, and I seem to have a habit of spilling drinks on myself recently. Apart from this magazine, there's no other entertainment, so make sure you download some videos, or in my case, I did a bit of editing to kill time. And about the crew, they were perfectly pleasant during our few interactions, but the service felt very minimal and robotic. That's all I have to say, really. I did end up having a nap for an hour or so, and as much as the recline and headrest is nice, you'll never get as nice of a rest as with a lie-flat seat. So stick around to see how much of a difference that makes on the next flight. And speaking of differences, let's talk about the cost of this flight. The economy seat comes in at 10,800 rupees or $120, which is already incredibly cheap for a 6-hour flight. And the stretch ticket I flew in only cost me 22,400 rupees. That's about $250 for a 6-hour flight in business class. I don't think it gets any cheaper than this. Now granted, it's not a full-service business class experience, but honestly, for a daytime flight where you're not planning on sleeping and can just work or watch movies, I think this is the best possible value option you could take.
Alright, so after almost 6 hours, we've started our descent, and there's some amazing views of Singapore right now out the window.
I'd love to hear about your experiences with IndiGo in the comments below, and before we check out the Air India business class experience, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more content like this.
It's been about a week and I'm back in New Delhi. This time I'll be flying with Air India in business class. It's a bit of a shorter flight today, just under 4 hours, and I'll be heading over to Dubai. Let's get inside. I've only flown Air India once before, and that was in first class on their very worn out 777. Now the thing I liked the most about that flight was the incredible service from the crew. So today I'll be on their newest plane, the A350, and if I can get that same friendly service in the new seat, I think it should make for an excellent flight. Let's go find out.
There's a dedicated set of business class counters with almost no wait to get my boarding pass printed.
Because I'm in business class, I can use the fast track security, and on the other side I've got access to a lounge. But there's a bit of bad news, which I'll tell you about on the other side. Let's get through security. Now, I won't bother showing you around the terminal because we've already seen it earlier in the video, but what's the bad news? Air India's lounges are currently undergoing a major refurbishment. That means they're all completely closed here at this airport. So they've partnered with Encom to give access to those lounges. Now what I thought was even worse news was we'd get access to the Encom lounge up here, which is the one where we saw the massive queues the other day. But it turns out there's 2 Encom lounges, and the nicer one is called Encom Privé, and this is the one Air India gives us access to. So let's go see. And I think the first thing I'm doing is jumping in the shower because I'm dripping with sweat. It was so hot and humid outside.
Actually, there is one more important thing that comes before the shower.
Hi, do you have a glass of champagne?
So we do have only sparkling wine.
Sparkling wine's fine, thank you.
Cheers. Now, time for a much needed shower.
Now I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed by this lounge so far. Now I've never been to the Air India lounge before, so I don't really know what to compare it to, but even on its own, this lounge is pretty great. First of all, it's massive. There's so many different seating areas and sections. There's quite a fair few people in here and it does not feel busy at all. There's a massive buffet with loads of different food, different cook-to-order options. There's a bar, there's a gaming room at the back with 3 PS5s, there's a full virtual reality setup, there's showers, there's a spa, there's a gym. I don't really know what more you want from a lounge. So I'm going to enjoy myself, relax here, and boarding starts in about 30 minutes, so I'll catch you then.
And just before heading out, these bottles caught my eye, so let's wrap things up in here with a blueberry-infused vodka shot. Bottoms up.
Right, so boarding's just been announced. I'm on my way to the gate. But first, let me give you a brief overview of Air India and what's going on at the moment.
Air India's history began in 1932 as Tata Airlines, but decades of government ownership led to a general decline, poor public perception, and large debts. They operate a mixed fleet of Airbus and Boeing aircraft with A320s, 787s, and 777s. In 2022, the Tata Group came back in the picture after 70 years of state control to complete a historic takeover, initiating a massive transformation plan to modernize the fleet, enhance service, and restore the airline's former glory.
So, let's get on board and see if this transformation really is the start of a new era for Air India.
Business class passengers have priority boarding, but are free to board at any time, and there's even a separate jet bridge which takes you to the front of the business cabin. I didn't manage to get a shot of the aircraft, but we're flying on one of Air India's brand new Airbus A350-900s in the new Air India livery. The business class cabin is made up of 7 rows in an alternating 1-2-1 layout. I'm in seat 6A today, which is a window seat closer to the window. Odd numbered window seats are closer to the aisle, odd center seats are closer together, and the even ones are further apart. But let's get back to my seat and get comfortable. The crew offered me a pre-departure beverage of either spiced buttermilk or my choice, the sugarcane juice. This was followed by a hot towel to freshen up. So, let's look around the seat features. Right in front is the 21-inch IFE screen, which had a decent selection of new and classic Bollywood and Hollywood movies, and can also be controlled using the detachable handset by your side. There's an international power socket on the side table, but only USB-A here unfortunately. Storage is great, with a wardrobe for hanging coats and jackets, a shoe compartment which has the slippers inside, another compartment by your side table to put personal belongings, a small place to hold the provided water bottle, and of course the overhead lockers. Comfort-wise, the seat comes with a pillow and blanket, and of course the seat reclines fully flat into a bed, which we'll check out in the air, but for now, let's get strapped in and get up there.
Alright, so we've just reached altitude, and first impressions are, this is a pretty nice seat. This plane's just under a year old, so everything's still nice and fresh, and let's get the obvious thing out of the way. Compared to IndiGo, this is a proper business class seat. And another thing I immediately noticed was, I think this is the most private seat just below Q Suite that I've been in. The suite walls are really high. It's not quite as much as Q Suite, but I've not been on another business class product with this much privacy, so very happy with it. The meal service should be starting in a second, so let's see what we got to eat. I just got served a glass of champagne and I picked it up and I just spilt it all over here. It went all over my phone, my camera, everything. First the apple juice, now this. I don't know what's going on with me, but we managed to get it all cleaned up. There's a bit of turbulence now, so maybe it's going to spill from the plane shaking. Alright, let me try drink one glass without spilling it.
I placed my meal order with the crew just before takeoff, and there were plenty of drink options available from the bar menu too. The meal was all served on one tray. I chose the chicken pie for mains, which was one of 3 options, and the feta salad starter and dessert were both fixed. The meal tasted great, I just wish there could be a choice of starters and dessert. The crew on this flight were incredibly friendly and proactive, and made sure my champagne glass stayed topped up throughout the flight.
Alright, so it's actually a pretty decently sized toilet. There's some extras like mouthwash over here, there's hand lotion, there's regular soap, but there's also like a bunch of wet tissue paper all over the floor, so yeah.
The sun was setting outside, so back at my seat, it was time to check out the real differentiators between the two airlines, and that's the ability to convert the seat into a lie-flat bed and close the sweet door for extra privacy. This is what you're paying extra for. Having this enclosed space all to yourself and the ability to properly sleep. I paid 55,500 rupees for this flight to Dubai, which is around $630 US. Now bear in mind, this flight is a shorter 4-hour flight, hence the cheaper price. But if you wanted to fly this exact seat on a proper long-haul route to London, for example, it would be around $1,700 one way. So, which airline is better? The answer depends entirely on your journey. It's undeniable that IndiGo offers unbeatable value. The stretch seat is a great daytime option, allowing you to get on with your work or watch videos comfortably. However, sleeping upright is never going to be pleasant, and towards the end of my 6-hour flight, I was definitely feeling restless. Air India is your investment. If your flight is over 6 hours, especially overnight, the lie-flat bed, the privacy door, and the full service experience are worth every extra dollar. Having said that, these two products mostly target completely different passenger and journey types, so it's less of a battle between the two and more of two airlines filling different niches. Air India Business aims for the premium long-haul traveler, and IndiGo Stretch aims for the value passenger and daytime commuters. Ultimately, leaving us, the consumer, with more options.
Alright, the captain's just announced our descent into Dubai. Apparently it's 42 degrees in the ground, so I think I'll be doing a bit more sweating when I get there, but otherwise it's been an excellent flight.
So let me know what you think in the comments. Have you flown on either of these airlines, and how was your experience? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, till next time.